EIU head coach Chris Wilkerson, the team coming off a 1-point loss to Charleston Southern on the road this past weekend. They're home this weekend. UT Martin comes to town Saturday afternoon, ESPN Plus. So, coach, some thoughts about your squad, and we'll go to some questions.
Yeah, disappointed to come out on the short end. The guys played very, very hard on Saturday. We built a 13-point lead in the fourth quarter, and we had a chance to push it to 16, but we didn't. And we had a chance to get off the field a couple times on defense, and we didn't. And we certainly had a chance to score at the very end of regulation, and we just didn't. So you tip your hat to Charleston Southern and Gabe, his staff. Their guys continued to battle, and in the end, they made a few more plays than we did. Um, we played a little more soundly in terms of playing complementary football, but just didn't make enough plays to finish the game and win the football game. So can't dwell. We certainly, these last 4 weeks, will play the most challenging part of our schedule. And it starts this week, certainly at home against a deep, veteran, very well coached UT Martin football team this Saturday.
Thanks, coach. We'll go to some questions. Dan, go ahead with whatever you got.
Since you just kind of alluded to Martin, I noticed in the games they've won, I think they've only given up like 63 yards a game on the ground. That's obviously got to be a concern for you going in.
Yeah, there's a ton of things that they're stout, they're physical, they're an older football team. And I think 18 of their 22 starters on offense and defense are guys that are redshirt juniors, and that's just a couple, mostly redshirt seniors and graduates. And they've got a veteran group of coaches that have been around for quite some time. They know exactly what they're doing. They're certainly going to load the box and stop the run. And you've got to be able to make some plays in the passing game if you're going to gain any yards and score any points against them. But yeah, it's going to be a huge challenge for us this Saturday.
I know you've talked the last couple of weeks about, not getting in the end zone and having to settle for field goals or field goal attempts. What do you feel is missing right now? And then how can you rectify that?
Yeah, we just got to keep working. Situationally, we might have been a little more conservative based on where the score was and how we were playing on Saturday. And it's a fine line between being aggressive and putting yourself in a situation where, again, we had been hurt by turnovers in the red zone recently. So we just got to keep working, and we got to try to find a way to create some more explosive plays from outside of the red zone and finish in the end zone. But yes, we've got to do a better job finishing offensively. Certainly sixes are better than threes. And, defensively, we've been able to buckle down. But that was another one of the statistics from Saturday. We were 3 for 5 in the red zone, and they were 3 for 4. So we've got to do a better job executing and making plays and finishing drives down in the red zone this week.
You may have already answered this with your last two responses, but what do you see as the key to Saturday's game?
Yeah, again, for me, it's going to be the effort. Our guys have got to show up and we got to play hard and we can't beat ourselves. Again, we can't turn the football over. That was a positive from Saturday. We had 0 turnovers. We've got to play well in the kicking game. We've got to establish field position. We actually had an advantage from a field position standpoint for the game on Saturday. But again, we've got to eliminate the big plays on defense, and we did a better job of that Saturday. But in the end, they checked the ball down and made a couple plays, and we missed a couple tackles, and they had a couple explosive plays there in those last 2 drives that really, really did us in. And so we've got to make sure that we finish as well. So it's not going to be any one thing, but we just got to continue to focus and put in a great week of preparation and make sure that we're ready to go 2 o'clock on Saturday.
And I got one more for you. Injury wise, is there anybody that you're expecting back this week that maybe hasn't been there recently?
There is some guys that may return. They're kind of day to day. So we won't know really until we get to Saturday. Again, we haven't practiced yet this week other than the Sunday workout. And we'll know a little bit more this afternoon, certainly Wednesday. And as we get closer to Saturday game time, we'll have a little more information.
Okay. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Coach, you talked about the field position. Last week we talked about your punter. Just to get more, he had 53.7 average on 3 punts too. What all goes in besides just him, like what the process of the punting and the snap and the hole and all that, or the snap, all that, how's that work into, what you want to do field position wise?
Yeah, it's real important, and you know, Coach Brady has done a really good job with our special teams. Yeah, you mentioned it. Brett Galetti's a guy that people don't really talk about a whole lot. He's got to snap that football back there to Mason. All the guys up front have to make sure that they're lined up appropriately, that they understand their assignments. Certainly, we've got to protect first. We almost had a catastrophic play there. They did tip a ball, and fortunately, he got enough on it that it not only got over the line of scrimmage, but it actually rolled inside the 20. But Mason has been phenomenal, just being able to catch the football, directional kick. Again, he launched a 60+ yard punt. Their returner went back and made an aggressive play, mishandled it, and we had a chance to recover that ball, but it went out of bounds, and so they maintained possession. But it had really flipped the field position. And then our defense went out and got a 3-and-out. We were able to return a punt for 10 yards or so. And then we had good starting field position as an offense. And that was our only touchdown drive of the day. So field position plays a massive importance in our offense's ability to score, especially touchdowns. We just haven't created enough explosive plays offensively. And so, you know, if you start inside the opponent's 50-yard line, your chances are a lot better than if you start back inside your own 20. And Mason has been arguably our most valuable player this fall in terms of establishing field position for our football team, and putting our defense out there on the longest field possible certainly bodes well for them if we don't give up the massive explosive plays and you make people snap that football as many times as possible. So he's been a big part of it. But like you said, everybody plays a role in it. The guys got to block and then they got to cover kicks. We've had guys like Chris Sharp on the perimeter that have forced some fumbles and been active and have made a lot of tackles on punt. But we've just got to keep working together like everything.
And one more, I know Dan had a question about UT Martin. I also wanted to ask about the quarterback. You've played some good quarterbacks. He was really efficient the last time, 15 of 16, I believe. How is he maybe different than some of the quarterbacks you've seen earlier this year?
Yeah, I think it's watching him continue to grow during the course of the season. I think he's kind of found he just wants to win. He doesn't care what it takes, if they have to run the football, if he has to throw the football 50 times. But they've always, Coach Simpson has done a phenomenal job. They are always very well coached. They're very hard nosed and physical on defense. Their offensive line is massive, and they've really done a good job developing an identity over the course of this season. I know early in the season their schedule was extremely challenging, and you know they've done a really good job bouncing back and being physical, and certainly the last performance before they had the bye, going on the road and going into Gardner Webb and really playing well. They have been very efficient and very physical, and like I said, they are a veteran football team. So we're gonna have our hands full.
Last one. So you're going to take on Jason Simpson's team this week, and then in a month you're going to play his son as the quarterback at Alabama. I don't know. That's just an interesting connection there, I think.
Very interesting. And you know, Jason and I talked about this last year before we played the game. And you know, there was a lot going on, and you know, he joked with me about, yeah, if he had a chance to coach against Ty, that he'd be bringing the house every single snap, and somebody's band would play either way. Um, I don't know that we'll be in a situation to necessarily do that at the rate that he's playing right now, but yeah, it is a small world connection, and I'm sure that he's a proud father. Watching Ty play this year, you know, we run some cut ups on PFF every single week on everybody, and it's been impressive to watch. He's a you can tell he's a coach's kid, and he's really done a phenomenal job leading that football team and making plays, and obviously a Heisman, I would assume, finalist, and they're playing very good football. So I know I wish Jason could see more of him in person. I was really happy to see last week after the Gardner Webb game that he had the ability to get to the stadium and actually watch the game, you know, see him in warmups, and as a father, I just that was a really nice moment for me to be able to watch, for him, and I'm sure he's thrilled, and I know, you know, people don't talk about it, but Jason's other son is supposed to be as good or better than Ty. And so I'm sure he's going to be a national recruit, and Jason's going to get a chance to watch a lot of his son's games. So yeah, unique connection.
Well, Coach, appreciate your time as always. Best of luck this weekend. We'll talk to you again next week.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Go Panthers.